I hear you often talk about flexibility of architecture and, obviously from a scalability standpoint as well. But what does it take a typical customer to onboard themselves? Like, how easy is this to for a customer to consume this and get it up and running?
Yeah, I mean, you can take an NMIS 9 VM and, 8 gigs of RAM is probably a good idea. You could probably do it on less, but really 8 gigs of RAM is not a lot of memory these days. So 8 gigs of RAM and, two CPUs, 2 to 4 CPUs, depending how many nodes you want to run. And you can just spin up a VM in your virtual infrastructure, depending how many nodes you want to do will depend on your disk, but 100 gig of disk, two CPUs and 8 gigs of RAM will get you a pretty responsive machine. Add a few more CPUs to make it more responsive. Add a bit more disk if you want to poll more nodes. And probably the only real caveat is you need to make sure that the storage that you're using just has enough performance to match how much data you want to collect. You don't need, NMIS itself doesn't use a lot of, NMIS itself almost has no overhead. All of the overhead is the nodes that it polls. The more nodes you poll, the more data it has to collect, the more data it has to write to the disk. So yeah, like getting that storage performance, read, write, IOPS correct is just probably the only other thing. And for a small network, you don't need a lot of IOPS. You probably less than 100 IOPS would do you for a couple of hundred nodes.